A lot of people have a sort of nostalgia for Home Alone 2, which really isn't that surprising. I mean, they came out in just 2 short years between each other, which means that people who grew up with the original Home Alone were still growing up, I guess. Personally, I just never had that sense of nostalgia. I didn't see this film for the first time until last year. I mean, even when I was younger, I kind of felt like, didn't we say all we needed to say with the first Home Alone and now he's in New York? But regardless, curiosity got the best of me last year and I finally decided to check out Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. And
they're the same picture.
Yep. I mean, of course Home Alone was going to get a sequel. It was the highest grossing live-action comedy until 2011, when it was beaten by The Hangover Part 2. And just like The Hangover Part 2, I guess they figured, hey, same movie, different location. Because, you know when a movie comes out and a sequel comes out suspiciously quick after it, and you just know they put no thought into it? Like, when they're like, hey, we need to do Die Hard 2. Die Hard, but this time it's in an airport. We need to do Homeward Bound 2. This time they're lost in San Francisco. We need to do Home Alone 2. Well, he's in New York, isn't he? I mean, this one really requires you to suspend your disbelief even more. Like, sure, the first time maybe you can brush it off, but the second time, no one's like, hey, I was meant to be sitting next to Kevin, or hey, there's an empty seat randomly next to me. Or even Kevin isn't like, hey, nobody I know is on this plane. He only checks after he got off the plane. Which, by the way, Florida to New York, not that far away, you know. Probably could have sorted out pretty quickly. And even putting that aside, something I don't get is, how is this so funny? Why is everyone losing their shit and going hysterical with this? Like, honestly, at this point in the Home Alone franchise, it's just easier to believe that the McAllister family are a bunch of assholes.
Kevin, you walk out of here, you sleep on the 3rd floor.
Yeah, with me. So what else is new?
You'd better not wreck my trip, you little sourpuss. Your dad's paying good money for it.
In fact, scratch that, because you know what? In the first film, it's at least like just Kevin and the family know he's alone. But this time, all of New York seems to be totally fine with a kid just walking around the place. So, you know what? Everyone in the Home Alone universe is an asshole. Except John Candy. He's a sweet, sweet man.
Well, see what I did there?
Look, I know Kevin is a kid, but all I'm saying is that the plot of this movie relies a lot more on the incompetence of adults than the first movie did. But look, everyone in the universe is a jerk. I mean, even Kevin, he stole his dad's credit card. Like, ugh, I hate all these people. You deserve to get lost. I guess you also should probably suspend your disbelief about the Wet Bandits being back.
We're no longer the Wet Bandits, we're the Sticky Bandits!
Sorry, Sticky Bandits this time. Because I guess they needed a new gimmick. And yeah, they broke out of jail. And apparently there's so little happening in Chicago in 1992 that they made the front page for just breaking out of jail. But anyway, they're in New York now and they just happen to run into Kevin. And oh boy, their paths cross and hijinks ensue. So as I was saying, it's basically beat for beat the same as the first film. This time they go to the airport. There's a mix-up at the airport. Kevin ends up in New York and the family ends up in Florida. Aside from that though, a lot of the beats are kind of the same. But sometimes they kind of play with it. I do like the sort of fake out we get here.
Where's Kevin? 14. It's a good thing I have my own ticket, just in case you guys try to ditch me.
Other elements feel like they're more kind of copy and pasted from the first film. Like basically we have an old man Marley figure again in the pigeon lady who's homeless. And we also get that weird mixed message of don't talk to strangers, but also, wow, good thing you talked to that stranger. They were really nice. Okay? We also have some degree of self-awareness because we have, in the first film, angels with filthy souls. And here we have angels with even filthier soul, which is almost, you know, a redundant title and seemingly pointing to the fact that this film is just the exact same thing and totally pointless. But that's kind of as reflective as the film gets about its own nature. And also, I will say that leads to probably my favourite joke in the film.
You was here last night, too, wasn't you? And you was smooching with my brother.
I'm afraid you're mistaken, sir.
You've been smooching with everybody. Snuffy, Al, Leo, Little Mo with the gimpy leg, Cheeks, Boney Bob, Cliff.
No. It's a lie.
Although at the same point, I also really like the brick joke.
You want to throw bricks? Go ahead, throw another one.
Come on, Marv, get up. You don't have any more bricks. He's out of them. Wow. That did it. Nobody throws bricks at me and gets away with it. Come on, Marv, get up.
Angels with Even Filthier Souls is actually where we get the famous Merry Christmas, You Filthy Animals line from, which people often wrongly attribute to the first Home Alone. So there you go. If you ever want to be that, well, actually, guy, now you can be. I guess that's the film's ultimate legacy. Well, okay, it also has the weird legacy of having this guy in it.
Down the hall and to the left.
Well, they might not have had much to talk about back then, but I'm sure after the 2020 election, Donald knows all about what it's like to have lost in New York. That's our political joke for the episode, everybody. I'd like to thank our musical guest, Kanye West. You fucking lunatic. That's all we have time for. Good night. Oh yeah, the rest of the movie, sorry. Although I guess another part of the film's legacy would be the talkboy. I vaguely remember these. They were a toy that they actually made in conjunction with the film that sold pretty well. I mean, nowadays it's pretty modest. Like, imagine telling kids now, like, this was a hot toy back in the day. Like, hey, you can record audio. Whoa! Some of the new elements in the film actually work quite well. For example, Tim fucking Curry. Every scene he is in, he just steals. Anytime I see Tim Curry in a film, it gets an extra point. But oh, Rob Schneider's in this film. Anytime I see a film where Rob Schneider, it loses a point, so we broke even. Seriously though, Tim Curry is so entertaining in this film. He's just got a smug, shit-eating grin throughout the whole thing. He's just such a weirdo. He steals every scene he's in, and he's really entertaining, but can we talk about that one scene where he's trying to catch Kevin out? And to do that, he walks in and follows him to the bathroom. I mean, best case scenario, he was hoping to find the kid by himself, which means he was going to walk in on a child in the bathroom. Yeah.
Why don't you have a seat right over here for me?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Some of the stuff they repeat in the film is also less successful. Like, this joke does not make any sense. Like, when they did it in the original film, they were in France, so it was in French, so they didn't understand it. You just have the Spanish audio on. Turn it off. Problem solved. So yeah, around the halfway mark of the movie is when they leave the hotel, and this is kind of where it loses me a little bit. I feel like they missed an opportunity here. Like, they had a chance to make this feel a bit fresher by having a new setting, like a hotel or even the toy store, but instead he just goes to a dilapidated house belonging to his relative, and I feel that's a missed opportunity. And it also makes less sense. Surely he would know the hotel a bit better than he would just this random dilapidated house he just arrived in. I mean, seriously, the FBI should have this guy on a watch list. Look how quickly he just whips up dangerous shit like explosives and stuff. He could be a domestic terrorist. I honestly think you could probably put him against terrorists and he'd fare better than John McClane. Look how quickly he makes this shit. Which of course brings us to the essential part of any Home Alone movie, the booby trap scenes. And no, I take it all back. It's a totally different film. See, this time Harry lands on top of Marv, and in the first one, Marv lands on top of Harry. See? Totally different movie. In the film's defense though, the trap scenes feel relatively fresh, and they actually feel a lot more violent. I mean, he nearly gets shot in the balls with a nail gun. Merry Christmas, kids! Yeah, it's so dark and violent that it's kind of unsettling. I mean, I know they're kind of going for a live-action cartoon thing, but it's unsettlingly violent in the real world, to the point where I actually felt bad for Harry and Marv. And shout out to Joe Pesci for really doubling down on that by channeling Muttley in his performance. One thing I will say is that I much prefer his motivation in this film. In the first one it was sort of about, survival and protecting what he owned, but this time at least he's got some more altruistic motives of, saving Christmas for the kids and all that. I mean, he could have called the cops, but still.
You can mess with a lot of things, but you can't mess with kids on Christmas.
Badass.
It is badass.
As much as I think the film is a case of been there, done that, it has a very nice sweet ending with the family coming together for a lovely Christmas. But it's still kind of weird, right, on Christmas Day that mom and dad are like, yeah, go hug that crazy pigeon lady by yourself, Kevin. Have a good Christmas. Not good parents. For me, hands down, the best reaction in the film is definitely Catherine O'Hara reacting to Kevin being missing. Jesus. The best trap is kind of tricky. There actually is some pretty good traps in the film, but personally I really like the kind of elaborate setup to the exploding toilet. I guess I have pretty lowbrow taste, because an exploding toilet is just funny. Home Alone 2 is decent, but it's one of those films that's so like the first one, it's hard to tell what your reaction would have been if you saw this one first. Is it better? Is it as good? I don't know, but when you've seen the first one so many times like I have, it just comes off as very lazy by comparison. I mean, there's good elements in it. The traps are a lot of fun. The performances are still good, and some of the few minor things they do include that are new work pretty well. But overall, it feels a little bit long, and it's kind of lazy, and it's a shame they just didn't try to do a little bit more with it. But I don't know what you expect. I mean, the premise of Home Alone really isn't suited to a franchise. You can only do so much with that story, but as is, it's a pretty entertaining film, and if you get sick of watching the first Home Alone every Christmas, maybe this can serve as a decent substitute.